The election of 2000 was a major turning point in the history of the United States. It started a big political debate and divide in the country and shifted us into 21st century politics. The two major candidates were George W. Bush, governor of Texas and son of former President George W. Bush, and Al Gore, former senator from Tennessee and vice president in the administration of Bill Clinton. Once the votes were counted, it was found that Gore had won the popular vote of over 500,000 votes, but neither had won the 270 electoral votes required to win the presidency. Gore had received 255 electoral votes to Bush's 246. The final result came down to Florida, where a recount was called for. The results were so close that they caused a statewide mandatory machine recount according to the Florida Election Code. In the resulting case, Bush v. Gore, the Supreme Court ordered that the recount be stopped. The incomplete recount was halted, and Bush was awarded Florida's electoral votes and declared president-elect.
The outcome of the election was ultimately decided by the U.S. Supreme Court in Bush v. Gore. The court, in a 5-4 vote, ruled in favor of Bush. The vote was controversial because they voted along partisan lines, meaning the justices appointed by Republican presidents ruled in favor of Bush, and the justices appointed by Democratic presidents argued in favor of Gore. Another point of the controversy in the 2000 election was the fact that George W. Bush's brother, Jeb Bush, was governor of Florida at the time of the recount. There was no evidence of wrongdoing between the Jeb Bush and the results of the votes in Florida. Al Gore conceded the election to Bush, but disagreed with the U.S. Supreme Court. Disputes erupted over the accuracy and reliability of the election technology in the state, with confusion over butterfly ballots, that ballots have names on both sides, punch card voting machines, and the hanging chads, which were pieces of card that weren't completely popped off of the ballots. These complicated ballot designs led to calls for election and voting reform, and some states installed electronic voting machines to ensure greater accuracy in future elections in hopes that an election would not result in the same way as the 2000 election did. Long-term effects include the Help America Vote Act, which was passed by George W. Bush, which bought new voting equipment for many states and replaced the old punch card-style voting systems. Although seeming inconsequential at the time, the 2000 election did have a major impact on the United States voting process and changed the way we look at elections to this day. We saw how single states could affect an entire election, and that we should modernize our voting system to ensure accuracy and the integrity of the voting process.